and welcome to Unreasonable Hospitality in Business and Aesthetics, how to transform every interaction into loyalty, growth, and lasting success. I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes with you sharing the remarkable power of unreasonable hospitality. Let's get started. Why are we here today? We're here today because there are 4 common problems that we all face that unreasonable hospitality can really help solve. So those 4 problems: high staff turnover, we just heard a lot of talk about that. The second and third, are their schedules are not maximized. Can just show of hands here, does anyone here have a fully booked schedule, no openings for the next 90 days? Okay, we all have this problem. So there's 2 reasons why your schedule might not be optimized. One is that you don't have enough new patients coming in. The other is that you're not retaining the existing patients and having them come in as often as you would like. And then the last problem that we all really face is that the average patient spend is not enough to overcome our very high operating costs. If you pay your staff well, all the things, they're very high, and the cost of goods are very high. So we can have a relatively full schedule. If those are not profitable appointments, it doesn't help us that the schedule is full. So I've been here for the last few days, incredible conference. I have not written a book. I am not a famous injector. I'm not Terry Ross, although I have hired Terry Ross. Why am I talking to you today? So I want to take just a minute and credential about our practice and myself. I have an MSW and an MBA. I have an MSW in healthcare and an MBA in finance. Probably the biggest thing, although I've spoken at AmSpa several times and I do speak at other conferences, is that I do a lot of work in the community, a lot of work with their chamber, a lot of work with their mentorship academy, a lot of work talking to female entrepreneurs, small business owners, women leaders in the community. And so I hear from them about the successes and the struggles in their varied businesses and what kind of thing they're looking for, the experiences that they're looking for when they choose to be a customer in another business. That information has really informed this process. I have been married for 32 years to my best friend of nearly 4 decades, who is secretly peeping in the back, renowned board-certified plastic surgeon, Lisa Lickstein, who is our medical director. And our clinical director, our partner in our spa, is really equally renowned, Christina Hobgood-Noggle. She's a PA. She's 5 years in a row top 100 aesthetic injector on the Alley Medical Academy, and is just an incredible partner in our team. So some things about our practice. We've seen our next new patient number is over 60,000. We've been in business a while. When we opened our own practice, we had 11 employees and 1 location. We're now building our 4th location and we have 40 employees. Our revenues are in excess of $10 million. And we pay our staff very well, and yet we are really profitable. So one of the things that I'm most proud of is of those 11 employees, if they haven't moved out of state or retired, they're still with us. We try very hard to have a very positive culture in our practice. Locally, we've been very, very lucky to have what we do well be highly recognized. We've won Best Plastic Surgery Practice, Best Medical Spa, Best Facial, Best Esthetician. My husband has been noted as a top 100 plastic surgeon in Newsweek and in local business. Our plastic surgeons are noted as Cass and Connolly top doctors, and Christina for 5 years has been the best aesthetic injector in America. Most proud, personally, of the fact that our business won Business of the Year as a chamber. As Terry says frequently, it is a business. We're not volunteering, and we're all here to learn how to do the business part better. None of that happens if there isn't clinical excellence. Have to start with the clinical excellence. So this talk is based on the book Unreasonable Hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. It's written by Will Gadara, and I was gifted this book 2 years ago. I read it cover to cover, I read it cover to cover again. I was completely enthralled by this, and I read a lot, but this deeply resonated with me as something we needed in our practice. We close once a year, full for a day. It's a very expensive thing to do, for Strategic Planning Day annually. We pay for food for the staff. We've even, when we closed for a day and it turned out there was no school, we hired a kids gym and provided like tumbling class for our employees' kids so that they could all be there. We bring in outside speakers. We've had general manager of a 5-star country club come in and talk about their branding. We bring in very high-level consultants. It's a great educational and development day. I went through the process of trying to implement the tools that we'll talk about. And at the end of that day, one of our consultants, Amy Anderson, told me, did you know that you can get certified in unreasonable hospitality? And I enrolled the next day and completed that course last year. So I am certified by Coach Builder to teach Uncoach on this topic. But we only have 20 minutes today. I've used about 5 of them, and I speak on this for a half-day workshop, so we're gonna just touch on the highlights. Unreasonable hospitality is the story of a middle-of-the-road restaurant in a very classic New York City location, the Flatiron Building, and it's a then 26-year-old general manager, and how he brought this 2-star restaurant from average to the best in the world. Just like we have in our business the best of competitions, there is a annual best top 50 restaurants in the world gathering, and they rate among themselves. The process where he brought this restaurant from very average to the best in the world, those skills, those principles can be applied to any industry. We can all transform ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences for our customers. And there are many parallels between the restaurant business and our industry. We have incredible injectors and providers. They have amazing chefs and sommeliers. Our amazing providers can't do anything without a team of MAs and estheticians and a whole group of people. Just like the chef can prepare the food, but there needs to be bussers and servers and expediters. We don't have a menu, but we have packages, and those packages have to be enticing and priced correctly. We also need to make sure that our first impressions team gives that warm greeting, and that the people responsible for making sure that the money is collected collect the money, and that the appointments are on time and the turnover is done correctly. There's so much in terms of the experience of going to a restaurant, particularly a high-end restaurant, that parallels what we do in our industry. So those lessons are what we'll look at here. It's important to know what we can't do with unreasonable hospitality as well. Unreasonable hospitality takes something that's not broken and elevates it to something outstanding. If you don't have good standing operating procedures, if you're not proud of your before and afters, don't start with unreasonable hospitality. Start with hiring a consultant. Terry is fabulous. She knows her stuff endlessly. We have also, Christy Don Perry is our consultant from there. We also use Amy Anderson for many years, and Kelly Clark from Stacy Tuchel's well-built operations. We're going to define unreasonable hospitality, tell you specific examples from the story of 11 Madison Park, show you how we've implemented those tools in our practice, and how you can use them to increase profitability in your practice. And because we're running a little late, I'm happy to stay later and answer questions. Unreasonable hospitality, giving people more than they expect. Transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary, and there are 3 core values to this. Be present. If you're thinking about your laundry list, your argument with your spouse in the morning, the picking up the kids afterwards when you're with your patient, you're not really there. You can't pay attention to them. One of the things I like to say about my background as an MSW and MBA, I heard a lot of people say they're not numbers people. MBA is a numbers person, but as a social work degree, I spent time being trained to be present when listening. There is no substitute for being fully present with the person you're with. Be flexible. We started a lot of people talking about the energy in the room, right? If your energy is negative, if you're anxious, your patient will pick up on that. We're selling a luxury experience. We're selling an escape. We're selling the best part of their day. We're selling their potential for what they want themselves to be. If they're experiencing your stress, that's not what they came in for. And one size fits one. A bespoke, a unique, a custom gesture that your patient unexpectedly receives in your practice, that's something they're going to talk about all day long. That's an incredible value. That's going to drive them to tell their friends, and those friends are going to become your patients. So is Taylor here from the last presentation? So Taylor gave a really great example of that with her employee that listened to a vendor, heard their story, sent them a gift card, was there to be nice. That's unreasonable hospitality. That's how you get those returns. That was a great example. Gestures of thoughtfulness can always call you to greatness. So eventually, someone in a nearby spa is going to have a newer piece of equipment, a provider with more social media likes, a fancier facility, and you're going to have to overcome that to compete with them successfully. And the way you do that is by consistently investing in the relationships that you have with your team and that your team has with their customers. That's the core of unreasonable hospitality. It's a win for your bottom line, it's a win for your customers, it's a win for your team, it's a win for you. The fundamental difference between service and hospitality is found over and over again at the core of unreasonable hospitality. Customer service, we all talk about, but customer service is the job you do at its minimum. Unreasonable hospitality is how you make people feel special. It's a big difference. Will Ghidorah will say that customer service is black and white and hospitality is technicolor. All of us can make that leap from customer service to hospitality. When you checked in and you got a folder, in that folder was a 2-page handout related to this presentation. You don't need to have it out with you. They have copies in the back. Thank you, Mary. And honestly, Mary and the whole AV team, just the best, thank you. That tool, a customer journey advantage map, will help you figure out how to take your team and your customer journey from customer service to hospitality, and we'll talk about that more. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have at least one rock star provider in your practice. Up high and leave them up. Look at that. That's a lot of people, right? That's what the calls go in for them. Everybody's a lot of buzz in the community. That's so important. Leave your hand up. Raise your hand if your facility is beautiful and in a really good location. And if you are proud of your before and afters, you have great treatment plans. If any of those apply, raise your hand. Okay, so 2 things. If your hand is not up, you need to go get a consultant. You gotta find Terry or Amy or Stacey. That's one. Put your hands down. For those of you who had your hands up, is there at least one other well thought of medical spa in your area with whom you compete for patients? Raise your hand if you have some competition. That's why we're all here, right? So Will Ghidorah, in his scenario here with this restaurant, when he became 50th in the world, who wouldn't be happy with 50th in the world, right? Except we sat through this amazing presentation panel yesterday on being unapologetically ambitious, right? Who doesn't really want to be number 1? Right? Number 50 is stellar and phenomenal, but Will said about saying, among a field of unquestionably excellent competitors, how do you position your business to be best of the best? So we're going to look at how he did elevate from 50 to 1. And he starts off with something called looking at the tape, right? in a sports analogy, your team does terribly and your coach says we're gonna review the film, and you have to come and we have to look and we have to see where we messed up so we don't mess up again. And Will says, that's great, but that's not what we wanna do. We wanna look at our legends. We wanna look at our highlights. We wanna look at what we do best and figure out how do we do that so that it's not an accident, but that it's gonna be very intentionally replicated. If we gave a customer the best feeling, how do we do that again? Taylor had this amazing experience where her staff listened to a vendor and asked them thoughtful questions and was caring. And I would think that going forward, she's going to be training her team. I want everybody to ask those deeper questions. That's why I have this little fun to be nice and kind to people, because it drives business. So Will calls those legends, and I'm going to give you two specific examples because they are legendary. So as general manager, he's in the dining room, and in the dining room he's walking around and he overhears a table of European guests who are at their last stop of a foodie tour through New York City. They have been to every amazing restaurant on their list, and they are finishing at 11 Madison Park. And he hears them talk about how incredible this restaurant was and his restaurant is. And their one regret, they didn't get time to get one of those street hot dogs that New York City is so famous for. And he said that was one of those moments, like a cartoon little blurb over his head. He went out and he got one. And he brought it back to his chef, who was horrified because this is a fancy restaurant. And he said, please, this is important to me. Cut it up in 4 and make it pretty. And they put swirls of ketchup and swirls of mustard and a little cup of relish and brought them out with all the different, popped them in front of their next tasting course. They freaked out. Will said that was the moment of unreasonable hospitality, where he realized that he could have given them the most expensive bottle of champagne he had, the best caviar that he had. It never would have made the impression that giving those hot dogs made on that group of people. Similarly, we all have who here has not had a patient run over time or a provider run over time? Anybody? Do we always have a perfect schedule? Right. So same in a restaurant. You have a table that's going too long, but that means the next table's reservation is running late, right? You're setting up for a problem to begin with. So they monitor very carefully how the courses are going, and he understands that there's a table that's really far behind. What's the problem? Is it the kitchen? Is it the food? No, they're not really seated at the table. They seem to be staring out the window. Well, on further review, this is a family that they live somewhere where it doesn't snow, and it's snowing, beautiful, gorgeous snow outside, and their children have never seen snow. And instead of saying to them, look, we have somebody coming in for the table and we're so sorry to rush you, they packed up their food. They sent a staff person out to get 2 plastic sleds, and they put them in a cab to go play in the snow in Central Park. That's legendary. 10 years later, they weren't going to remember about their meal, but they were going to remember playing in the snow in Central Park. That's the power of looking at what we do exceptionally so that we can repeat it. Will says, if you systemize hospitality, it will inspire a culture of hospitality that goes bigger than any of the systems you put in place. And that, again, is something that we'll learn how to use the customer advantage map to do. But you can't use that tool. You can't generate what you need for that tool without your staff being completely on board and referencing so much of the conversation of this last presentation. You want your staff to be on board. They have to experience unreasonable hospitality. You have to show that to them first. That's the very first step. And there's 2 ways to do that. You can do that in ways that cost you money and ways that don't cost you money. So Will talks about you have to communicate trust. And yesterday, and I love this, the new president of Global Allergan Aesthetics, Nicole, said 2 things. She said, you develop trust through demonstrating competence, and I loved this, that purgatory is a room in which no one cares about what you say. Your staff, the most impactful and least expensive thing that you can do for them is to care about what they say. Show them that their thoughts and opinions matter. They're the one that are dealing with your patients over and over. They really know, right? They hear the feedback. Ask them, and more than asking them, give them what Will calls ownership. And by ownership, I don't mean actual equity. It's awesome if you give them actual equity, they would love that. But ownership to him, he describes the beverage service in a fancy restaurant, which is mostly the sommelier and the wine program. They can tell you what grapes there is, they know what vintage, they know what they want to carry, and because their expertise and interest and passion is in wine, often the coffee and beer situation at a fine restaurant is terrible because they're in charge of the beverage program and what they care about is wine. Will had 2 employees. One was super jazzed about coffee and one was super jazzed about beer, and these were very low-level employees, and he said, you know what? Would you like to be in charge of creating the menu, of curating our offerings in coffee and beer? And they were thrilled. They felt seen, they felt heard, they felt valued, and 11 Madison Park became known for having not only a great wine list, but great coffee and great beer. This is our team. We do a lot of things together. This is our team of plus ones. This is obviously something that costs a lot of money. We also do several things that have no cost, so just really quick things. We promote from within. The first shot of every open position is from someone we have. And I take a lot of time asking people all the time, what do you want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? When we hired Terry, they came in and Christy started her process and she was asking people, and I was so excited when Christy told me, your employees all said that you had already asked them that. I felt great about that. We care about what their goals are. We have something, the highlight reels, right? That's our legends. We type it up. We ask people if they've been with us for 20 years or 2 or a month, what's the best experience you had? Be specific. We type it up and we put it in a folder. It's very inspirational. You're having a bad day, you need to draw on something, it's there. And then recently, from Stacy Tuschel's Level of Operations, I got the idea for Wednesday Wins and Whys. Wednesday's a rough day, right? Like we all have that hump day situation going on. We asked the staff to submit their wins from the last week. And it's a very positive thing. Turns a rough day into a good one, gives people a lot of inspiration. Our ownership program, we have a staff member that's a lot of our staff has side gigs, right? And the people with side gigs, they're motivated. They're the people you want to keep. You don't want to lose them to their side gig. We had an employee who was a photographer, and we made her director of photographic standards. What did that do for us? It gave us far better before and afters. What did that do for her? A lot of our staff now get portraits with her. It's a win-win. These are things that are important to do. Didn't cost us much at all. We paired new employees with seasoned ones through an Encourager and Advocate program. How many of you have employees of childbearing age? Do you wait until they're this big and have nothing to fit them, or do you have a set of maternity scrubs that you can give them when they come in when nothing fits anymore? Simple things to do. Take your child to work day. We have whole programs for that. People get super excited. And yesterday, there was a mention of how impactful, how important it is to praise your kids or each other about something you overheard. Praise, make sure that people hear the praise that's said about you. There is nothing more impactful to your employees than to have their boss tell their children what a great job they did. We have a lot of single moms. That is so affirming. It doesn't cost you anything. And Star Performer Awards, which was an idea of one of our employees, overheard one of our employees who's very quiet and very humble, wouldn't say anything about herself, do a great job. And she came to me and she goes, I really wish we could give her one of those dollar store trophies. She's just had been so great today. And I was like, you know what, let's do that. And I went on Amazon and I bought a whole slew of these little tiny trophies, and it says on it Star Performer, so there are Star Performer Awards. And those are not things for us as owners to give out. People email me and they email about each other. They say, I saw so-and-so do an amazing, amazing job. And then at staff meeting, we give out the star performer awards and we read why they were nominated. So filming costs you 25 cents. This is some pictures of our team that I want to point out. We have a book club that is expensive. We take them to great dinners and we provide the books. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn together, grow together. That's the top picture. We race together, we do athletic things together. Staff threw, our two older daughters got married last year, and our staff threw us a surprise, or rather our staff arranged, and then I guess we threw us, a parents of the brides shower, but great good fun. But I love the bottom one, the bowling alley one, because that speaks to a lot to our culture. We had a little LPS cup, a little friendly competition, and we broke into teams to bowl. And at the end, I wanted to take a picture, and two of my staff refused. And they refused because they were very pregnant and they did not want to be in a picture. And the solution to that was not to exclude them or not to make them uncomfortable, but as you see, all of my staff shoved their bowling balls under their shirts, and I dare you to find my two very pregnant staff members in that photo. Our very sick pregnant staff members, sorry. So unreasonable hospitalities that require budgeting, staff treatments, a lot of us do that. In fact, it's expected a lot. I struggle with that. Sometimes it's not really viewed as a perk, but an expectation. When we send people to off-site trainings, we'll give them tuition for things that they want. We've sent people back to school. I'm training my own replacement. We're sending a long-term employee back for an MBA. Profit sharing, if you can do that, phenomenal. Staff strategic planning day, very, very impactful. But we were talking about how, in the last session of how to get employees, we offer a $500 referral bonus. When you have a good culture and you give a little incentive, your staff will want to make their friends and families their colleagues. It works really well. This is an example, there's a hotel near us, the Breakers. It's very much like the Terranea Resort. We took our entire First Impressions team out for a day to meet with their management. They had a great breakfast meeting and then a great presentation on how they install their culture and their brand with their team. When you train, everyone sends, or everyone should send, their clinical teams out for training, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your hospitality is if your before and afters aren't phenomenal. We, at the end of the day, sell not nice, we sell looking good, and we sell looking good safely, and so that has to be one. But the rest of your team, they matter tremendously. Will talks about the 1-inch rule, and the 1-inch rule is you have your incredible menu, you have the world-class chef, you have the world-class sommelier, you have the amazing expediter, the orders taken, the food is prepped, it's put on a beautiful plate, it's brought out, and when they put the plate down, if they get to that last inch and drop it and it splatters or it falls or it breaks, everyone's work is ruined. It's the same with what we do, right? You have to treat your non-clinical providers well. So once your staff knows what unreasonable hospitality feels like, you can ask them to make that happen for your customer, and that's really where you get that money back, right? So interrogating the customer journey. All of us can name the beginning items. I'm gonna skip ahead for a second here. For a medical spa, inquiry, confirm an appointment, check-in, consultation, treatment, check-out, right? Everybody, this is familiar. All of our competitors know these. That's great. But Will said, that's terrific, but what if we identify and elevate every touch point between those? So again, you'll have the sheet, it's in the back, or it's in your, and this is a really lovely thing, where you can get your team together and say, these are the obvious ones, but what about all of the things that we do? All of the touch points. And you want to get your MA, you want to get your billing person, you want to get everybody, because everyone interacts with your staff differently. Make the giant list. We had over 100 touch points that we went over in staff meeting, wrote them all down on individual pieces of paper, broke them up into teams and said, who wants to be responsible for which ones call to you, which are interesting to you to elevate. That process, again, called interrogating the customer journey. And all the touch points are either positive, negative, overlooked, or recurring. So positive, it's already good, you can make it better, that's terrific. The negative ones, some things are inherently negative. Inherently negative, the bill. Who likes to get the bill, right? Overlooked, classic one, your bathroom. Is it just somewhere to go, or is it lovely? We can picture that, right? You also have this example of Will's customer journey advantage map. And you can see it start at the reservations booked, and I want you to see how many things we're gonna go whizzing by, right? So between the initial short list and what the list was that they actually came up with, right? There's all sorts of things that happen when you go to expand the list, and you'll also find your recurring moments. So elevating your touch points, again, this is an example from the restaurant. Negative, getting the check. How can you make that less negative? Well, yes, you can give them a little mint and a note. You can print out the custom menu, that's terrific. Or you can really go overboard, and what they decided to do was to drop a bottle of cognac at the table and say, stay as long as you'd like, we'll take the check when you're ready. Amazing. Except no one, after a long tasting menu, really wants to drink anything else, and they're ready to go. So it costs them nothing, but they've seemed super generous, right? What about when someone arrives? Do you go like, oh, hey, do you have a reservation? What's your name? Or do you know them? Do you know their face? Are you expecting them? Hi, Mrs. Jones, it's so lovely to see you. Your table will be with you in a moment. And the bathroom visit, again, we've all had, wow, this is amazing, I could live in here, or ugh, do I need to be in here? You want to pick where you want to be there. This is critical, and critical in our field as well. The worst thing you can do to your team, the worst thing, is to give them expectations that they cannot meet. You can't get them all jazzed about this process and then tell them they have no money to do something great and that you're not increasing any staff time to do great things. Will did two things. He calls the 95-5 rule. The 95-5 rule means manage 95% of your budget super strictly. Be to the dollar on 95% of your budget, so you can be ridiculous with 5% of your budget. You can blow it out of the water, you can spend it on crazy, amazing, truly audacious things. And he hired a team of what he called Dreamweavers. Now, I don't know, we don't have a team of Dreamweavers, but we have people who know that it's okay to spend part of their time coming up with really exceptional things for our patients. The Dreamweavers' whole role in that restaurant were to make these really incredible experiences happen. So again, going back to those 4 core problems, you show your staff unreasonable hospitality, your turnover is going to go down significantly, and their friends and family are going to come into you. When your staff has experienced unreasonable hospitality and starts showing it to your customers, one, they're going to come back. They're going to come back more often. You are going to be their regular place they want to go as often as they can afford to, and they're going to bring their friends and family. And then the spend, right? We all have that experience where we have an amazing treatment plan, but they don't buy all of it, right? But we want them to buy all of it. It's the same as a restaurant. Are you buying all the courses, or are you buying the most expensive thing? That's a trust situation with us. When it's coming from a true relationship that you have nurtured consistently, every member of your team is someone that customer looks forward to seeing and knows without a doubt is invested in how they look. Those customers are going to buy that full plan. And on that note, I'm going to give one more shout out to Christina, who gave me visible cheekbones and full lips for this presentation. Thank you. MedSpot customer touch points. So again, these quick ones for us that we can all identify. This is an example of how we expanded between confirming appointments and checking in. So, simple things. We make a phone call to introduce the provider. Hi, Mrs. Jones, I'm Trish, and this is what I do, and this is what your appointment's about, and do you have any questions? I'm looking forward to meeting with you. your directions. We can all go, hey Siri, how do you get to, but do they need help getting from the car? Is there construction going on in your parking lot? Is there something they should know? Are you in a plaza and maybe to not be late, they're gonna already be there and be in a store in your plaza? And do you have a good relationship with that other store? Are they gonna send them along? Are you gonna surprise them with a discount at that vendor? Do you have good mutual relationships with each other for your joint customers? What does your elevator or stairwell look like? How's your hallway? Does it have patient education? All of the senses, right? All of them. Is it beautiful? Is it the right temperature? Does it sound and smell well? All right, how's your coffee, your tea, your hot chocolate, whatever you use? What does customer service and unreasonable hospitality look like in our industry? So with and I just got the please wrap up sign. So we'll be there in just a moment. It's not going back, there we go. So, two very quick examples. So we have a full laser resurfacing. Those patients look beat up endlessly. We had one of those patients write us a note that it was almost fun. Why? Because our MA literally did a song and dance to distract them during the procedure. We walk our post-laser patients back to their car if they feel uncomfortable by themselves. We've had a grandchild of an autistic grandchild of a patient show up unexpectedly in our lobby. We called the patient and drove that kid home. If we're running late, we give people pastries and coffee in a coffee shop locally. We celebrate with our patients. And our recurring moments, where you can read these in the restaurant, one of our recurring moments in South Florida is you come in and it's beautiful, but it's a torrential downpour. When they go to leave, $1 a piece, we give them ponchos. They're so happy. When you systematize your hospitality, you have to make real explicit directions of when this happens, we do this. A couple gets engaged, we give them champagne flutes. If they're going to the airport, we give them snacks. When we do that, what are the equivalent in the med spa? Patient running late, an appointment, a patient showing up for the wrong location. Someone brings a pet. Yesterday, I had a photo from 2 of our assistant managers because someone brought a pet. This is not a service animal, this is a pet. They went out in the hallway and took super cute pictures with the pet, walked the pet around so the person still could have their appointment. Assign ownership, make sure people know whose job this is. And again, the solution, the partial solution to all of these common problems is elevating all of your customer touch points for unreasonable hospitality. The last component of unreasonable hospitality is making sure that you leave with more than you expect. So if you stop in the back, pick up your Advantage map, fill it out, email me, and my contact information is on that packet. Your patient touch point list, your client list, your business address, your phone number, send that to me. I will send you a copy of Unreasonable Hospitality, and we can arrange a 30-minute call on how to install this into your practice. Thank you so much for spending the time.